Car crash cases, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, the attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis, Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts. The attorneys with Josh Wright from the law firm of Hollis, Wright, and host David Lamb.
Good evening and welcome into the attorneys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For the next half hour, we have a panel of experts assembled to deal with a topic that, trust me, matters to each and every one of us. Before we get to that conversation, just a couple of reminders of how you can join the conversation. We'd love to do so. You can call, text, email, that information on the screen all throughout the program. But just to underline, if you would like to send us a text, that number 205-670-1949. That's for texting us. And if you want to call us, it is 844-529-8255. We would love to hear from you. Leading a conversation tonight from the firm of Hollis Wright, the managing partner, Josh Wright. Good to see you, my friend.
You too. Hope you're doing well.
Doing well. Thank you, sir.
So we bring the real expert on today, Michael Eldridge, with our law firm. Michael's been with us for years and does a great job in this kind of stuff. We're going to be talking about a topic that really is relevant to everybody that operates a motor vehicle. You may not realize that you have uninsured motorist coverage and what it does for you, but it's super important to know whether you have it and the impact that it can have if you've been involved in an accident or an event. And so we like to educate the viewing audience about uninsured motorists. One interesting thing, we're going to talk all about it today and kind of how it helps you, and Michael really handles a lot of cases related to uninsured motorists, but you have uninsured motorist coverage under Alabama law unless you've waived it, right? So most folks probably have it. They may not know it, but they probably have it if they have a standard insurance agreement. And so one of the things I think is helpful is to bring someone like Michael on to be able to talk about, from an expert perspective, legally, what uninsured motorist coverage does for you. And not just that, but what to do if you've been involved in an event where you may need to access insurance coverage, and how it can protect you on a rainy day. So first of all, welcome aboard.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. Always good to talk with yourself and David. And this is one of those topics. I don't think you know this. This was not the original topic that they sent me to look at. I got them to change it because this is one of those topics that I think, outside of the insurance world and outside of the legal world, that across all professions, socioeconomic groups, that people really do not have a great understanding of exactly what this is and really just how important it is. So I'm really excited to talk about this tonight.
Good. All right. Tell us a little bit, just kind of generally, kind of about this topic and kind of what is it to start? Because I think that'll help educate folks.
Right. So uninsured, underinsured motorists, which we call UM/UIM, is insurance that is carried through a person's individual auto policy. So you get a car, you get auto insurance, and with that should come a specific coverage called uninsured, underinsured motorists. And the reason that you have that coverage, or how it works, I'm going to use an example, is let's say you're driving down the road, you and your family, somebody runs a red light, hits you. You have injuries, your husband has injuries, your daughter has injuries, you go to the hospital, you miss work, you've got medical bills piling up. And that person did not have liability insurance for their car. Well, your uninsured motorist coverage is there to kick in case you were caused bodily injury and damages from bodily injury from a person who caused an accident that does not have liability coverage. Underinsured motorists, very similar, same example. Let's say that the person did have insurance, but they had the minimum amount, maybe $25,000 per person. Your underinsured motorist is there in case that liability coverage cannot cover all of the damages to you and your family that are in that accident.
And I know there are going to be people that are listening to that, and you did a great job explaining it. There'll be people saying, well, hold on now. I thought everybody has to have liability coverage in Alabama, and the law requires it. That's not always the case, though, is it?
Unfortunately, it's not. And I think that's where the big misconception is that every time someone goes and gets titled to a car, you've got to show proof of insurance. If you get pulled over, you got to show proof of insurance. So there's this assumption that everyone out there must have liability insurance because you were required to get liability insurance. Across this country, it's estimated that 14% of the drivers on the road do not have liability insurance. In Alabama, it's even worse. There's only 5 states that have percentage higher amount of uninsured motorists. So about 20%, roughly 20% of the drivers in the state of Alabama that are on the road today carry no liability insurance. That means if you're in an accident, you have about a 1 in 5 chance that the person that caused the accident carries no liability insurance.
And it's a reason why, David, you would want this UIM or UM coverage that Michael talked about. And just to break this back down, because I think he did a really, really good job, you know, when you're hit by somebody that does not have liability insurance, you've got coverage. If you have you've got coverage to protect yourself. And then, as Michael indicated, there are a lot of circumstances where people carry minimum limits, right? So they may have, in Alabama, minimum limits is $25,000. They may have $25,000 per person, but you may have $100,000 worth of medical bills. You may have $50,000 worth of lost wages. You may have a permanent injury that is legitimate that you didn't cause, that is somebody else's responsibility to compensate you for. And you don't have enough insurance because the person that hit you only has minimum limits. So it's another example where you'd want to have some form of UIM coverage. And so, you know, this is a really, really important component. I started the show, and I'm going to hit it again because I think it's important, is you have coverage unless you waived it. Because one of the requirements of insurance companies working in Alabama is that they have to provide coverage unless somebody specifically and explicitly waives it. So a lot of times it's as simple as contacting a lawyer who, by the way, will evaluate one of these cases for completely free, assess what you got, give you some advice. It's letting him see your insurance policies so that he can tell you what you have and what you don't have.
Let's step aside. Our first break of the evening. Let's just take a break right here. As we head to break, a couple of reminders. Hollis Wright all over social media, so you can find them on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook as well. Just search the term Hollis Wright and you'll find them there. Really great informational, educational resource. You'll want to keep up with the firm name. Stay tuned. We've got more of the attorneys coming right up.
I'm Josh Wright with the law firm of Hollis Wright, a personal injury law firm. Thank you for watching The Attorneys. Now, we hope you, a friend, or a loved one never needs legal counsel for a case. But if you do, the goal of the show is simple. Provide answers and legal counsel when you need it the most. Your call to the show is free, so if you have questions specific to the show or related to other accident or injury-related topics, you can call, email, or text us. Or you can also follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or simply contact us by going to hollis-wright.com and click on the Contact Us link. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it with us watching The Attorneys. It's common for a potential client to ask, there are many great firms out there. What separates Hollis Wright from other law firms? My response is generally to talk about the strengths of our law firm in handling cases throughout Alabama and the United States. That we've recovered through verdicts and settlements, hundreds of millions of dollars for our clients. That we have financial resources to hire any required expert and to take their case all the way to trial, even if it costs us hundreds of thousands of dollars to do so. That we settle cases for top dollar before trial is needed because the insurance companies and defendants know we have the ability to take a case all the way to trial. That we handle cases only on a contingency fee, which means we never ask the client to pay any costs of litigation whatsoever and only recover those costs in a fee if we win for the client. That we have a staff of more than 20 employees that help us litigate cases from start to finish. That we've had a television show on NBC 13 for 6 years that answers thousands of questions to citizens for free each year. But what I've learned in the last 20 years as a trial lawyer is that clients want more and deserve more than all those things. Those things are expected of each law firm they consider. So with that wisdom, what I tell clients now is simply this. We are a family-oriented practice at Hollis Wright, just like their own family. That we are a team-oriented group that engages in team-building exercises and team-building events because it helps our clients win cases. That we are dads and moms and brothers and sisters. That we are former Alabama trial lawyer presidents. That we return every single telephone call from every single client that our bedside manner is second to none. So what really separates our firm from others? We're balanced and well-rounded, and as such, we relate to people not just as lawyers, but as compassionate human beings. Human beings that know what it's like to face a day in court. We are advocates, we are compassionate, we are tireless. We are, simply put, Hollis Wright.
Welcome back into The Attorneys. Thanks for being with us tonight. The way that you can join our conversation, we really try to make it easy. You can text us at 205-670-1949 or call us at 844-529-8255. That's the way you can get your questions to us. One such question that we've got is this one here. I was driving on the highway when a car swerved into my lane, causing me to run into the guardrail. The driver who swerved into my lane did not stop. So can I make a claim on my own insurance for my injuries?
What's that called generally in the legal world?
Yeah, so what we call that is a phantom vehicle claim, and it's exactly what falls under an uninsured motorist claim. So an uninsured motorist, what it's going to cover is any situation where there is an injury that is related to the use or operation of an automobile. I would say, and Josh, you've been doing this a little bit longer than I have in terms of litigating cases, but when it comes to claims, phantom vehicle claims are probably the most litigated cases because while they do fall under you've got somebody that's not there anymore, that you don't have anybody to prosecute. So that's a situation where you really want to contact a lawyer because if you have coverage there, you are covered. And you should be reimbursed for any injuries that you had that was caused by that phantom vehicle. But the insurance company is going to see that as a possibility to get out of that coverage because you don't have another person to put it on. Yeah. And if you have an attorney that can get on it quickly, then they can cover you in a phantom vehicle situation.
And there are certain circumstances, well, really better stated, there are certain facts and evidence that you can use with an attorney to protect you in those circumstances to prove that you're entitled to uninsured motorist coverage. It is a shining reason why, even with your own insurance carrier, and we're not saying that your own insurance carrier who has this coverage that you pay for is doing it the wrong way at all, because there are a lot of great carriers out there. But before you talk with your insurance carrier, lawyers are free in this area of the law. You call, they will give you legal advice for free. One of the things they're going to tell you is be careful talking with your own carrier and giving a statement before you understand legally the implications of that statement. So there are certain things, if you say to your insurance company related to a phantom vehicle case where someone left the scene of the accident or ran you off the road because they got into your lane, if you say the wrong things in your statement, you could preclude yourself from a coverage perspective. So you do have to be careful, and getting some free legal advice I think is super, super important.
Can I ask you something just real quick? Is it harder than ever to leave the scene of a crime or an accident and not be noticed? I mean, it seems like there are cameras everywhere now. Is it easier to kind of track somebody down or get video of that?
That's a great question.
I think that in this day and age, that's another example, David, of why it's so important to get an attorney involved, because the people that operate these cameras and get that camera footage, they don't just save it forever. Right. And unless you send them a letter or have an attorney send them a letter that has the right preservation language that says you've got to preserve this footage because we need it for legal purposes, after a certain period of time, those grocery stores, those gas stations, that video footage is going to purge and it's gone forever. It happens so often. People call us 4 or 5 months after the fact and they say, well, there's a camera right out there. And we say, I promise you that footage is gone unless you had an attorney put them on notice that they need to preserve it.
Yeah, and our firm has done some creative things. I can think even in the last 12 months, we put a billboard up in a circumstance where somebody left the scene of an accident but clearly caused the accident. It was a significant injury. We put a billboard up that said, have you seen this accident? A picture of our client's car to gather information and witnesses that may have seen it. And sometimes you have to do that. That's necessary in order to prove the uninsured motorist claim that you got. And so, there are some creative things that lawyers can do for you. But at the end of the day, having a lawyer involved in these cases early is important. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to let Michael kind of describe this. All right, Michael, explain, if you will, just kind of generally, maybe even with an example of if you are not careful in resolving your claim. Let's say you try and do it without a lawyer, do it on your own, and you're trying to collect against someone who caused an accident. If you're not careful, you can waive your own uninsured motorist coverage or your underinsured motorist coverage, can you not?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing to think about with uninsured and underinsured, and I think some insurance companies get this mixed up too, is this is a claim in contract, right? So there are contractual provisions set out on you paid for this, contractually you get this. But within those provisions, there are certain requirements that you've got to put your insurer on notice of exactly what happened. You have time limits to do that. And if you don't, you have contractually, in some circumstances, waived your right to the uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage that you paid for. So very important. And that's when you get an attorney involved like our firm, we know those things and we know those time limits and we know how important it is to get on the ball and to make sure you preserve those things.
Yeah, and a good example is if I'm an individual that was involved in an accident, I decide I'm going to try and do this on my own because I don't want to get a lawyer involved, and I resolve my claim for, call it $25,000. Let's assume I have $100,000 in medical bills. And I say to myself, well, I got this contractual thing that Michael's talking about called uninsured motorist coverage, and man, I got a bunch of vehicles that I can use, and we'll talk about stacking maybe in the next segment, but I got $75,000 worth of uninsured motorist coverage. I'm going to go access that. So I go and I release the driver because I have to sign a release because the insurance company for the person that caused the accident is not going to allow me to take that $25,000 unless I release that person from suit, right? I've now released the driver, and I never gave my own uninsured motorist coverage or carrier an opportunity to do what's called waiver subrogate. It's a complicated legal term, but the short is that uninsured motorist carrier has some contractual rights, like Michael's saying, to step in and decide if they're going to defend, if they're going to get involved, and if they don't have that right, you've waived your coverage completely. So when we come back, and I know we're getting ready to go to break, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I also want to talk with Michael about how you can take multiple vehicles in your household and you can stack coverages to your benefit.
All right, we'll pick up right there whenever we come back as we head to break. Hey, just a quick reminder, attorneys from Hollis Wright standing by live right now until this show ends. So you've got 10, 12 minutes or so remaining to speak with them. An opportunity, free, confidential, and off air. Pick up the phone and give them a call to speak with actual attorneys from Hollis Wright. Stay tuned. We are coming right back.
I'm Drew McNutt with the law firm of Hollis Wright. We often get asked what happens if someone is injured by a motorist who doesn't have any insurance coverage. In tonight's Legal 411, we will address uninsured motorist coverage. Under Alabama law, all automobile policies issued must provide uninsured motorist coverage unless the name insured rejects the coverage in writing. If you purchase this coverage and you are injured by an uninsured driver, you can make a claim against your own insurance company to compensate you for the injuries caused by an uninsured or underinsured driver. While liability insurance is required by state law, it is estimated that over 20% of the motorists in Alabama do not have any coverage at all. Uninsured motorist coverage provides you with the ability to protect yourself and your family in the event you are injured or killed by one of these uninsured drivers. If you are concerned about whether you're covered, I recommend that you check your declarations page or contact your insurance agent to discuss your coverage options. If you do not have uninsured motorist coverage, consider adding it. And if you do have it, discuss increasing your limits. Oftentimes, you can purchase hundreds of thousands in coverage for less than $100 a year. Please remember, your call, email, or text to the attorneys is free. All of us at Hollis Wright want to help answer your questions on the real issues you face. Remember, a competent lawyer will respond to every question you send in. That's our pledge and promise to you. Thanks for watching The Attorneys on WVTM 13.
Welcome back into the Attorneys. This is our final segment, so less than 10 minutes remaining. If you want to take advantage of the opportunity to speak with the attorneys from Hollis Wright, who are standing by live for free, that free, confidential off-air conversation, just give them a call. If you would like to join our conversation, a couple of ways to do so. Text us at 205-670-1949, or you can call us at 844-529-8255. And a good question we got is this one right here for our panel of experts. I was driving into work early one morning and a deer ran out in front of me, causing me to swerve to hit a tree. Something not all that uncommon in these parts of the country. Can I make an uninsured or underinsured claim there against the deer?
That is a very good question. It makes me think of, I grew up in South Alabama in the middle of nowhere, and my mom would always, every time it was just kind of chilly outside, she would remind us to look for deer. So in short, the answer to that question is no. As we mentioned earlier, these claims have to arise out of the negligent use or the unreasonable use of a motor vehicle. So it would have to be caused by another person in their operation of a motor vehicle. And unfortunately, to get off the jumping ground, the deer is not going to get you there, right, under the circumstances. But we do see situations where, for example, I have a case right now. It's not an uninsured motorist claim, but people let their dogs run loose in the highway, and they have possession of those dogs, and from there, cause car accidents, people get hurt. There are claims that you can make against them that could fall under their homeowners insurance, for example. We've seen where utility trucks have, in the middle of the interstate, ladders or buckets or things fly out of their truck and cause motor vehicle collisions where people get hurt. And those are situations where that truck may keep going down the road and you didn't see if it said Alabama Power or what it said on the side of it. You don't know whose truck it is. And those are situations where you would have a claim under uninsured motorists. Unfortunately for the deer, it's really hard to track them down.
Yeah. I'll give you two other quick examples. One is a tire that comes off a tractor trailer and ends up in someone's windshield causing injury. Uninsured motorist was applicable in that case. And there are circumstances where, depending on what state you're in, but there are circumstances where if you're a pedestrian and you're injured by an uninsured or an underinsured motorist, where your coverage can transfer to you and protect you in those circumstances. So it really, you've got to evaluate the law in the specific state. You have to understand the inner workings of liability coverage versus the uninsured motorist coverage to determine whether or not something's applicable or not. And it's a shining reason why you can call the number on the screen, 844-LAW-TALK, if you've got questions associated with an accident you've been in, you, a friend, a family member, to at least get some free legal advice. We're not saying we're the only good lawyers out there. There are a lot of great lawyers out there. But get help from someone, because it's really easy through the contingency fee arrangements we talk about almost every week to get free legal advice to help kind of lead, guide, and direct you through the process itself. Michael, one of the things I did want to talk about quickly was the issue of stackability or stacking of coverages. Can you touch on that just real quickly?
Sure, and it's not that complicated. So at the very beginning, we talked about that your uninsured motorist coverage is going to be through your auto policy. Well, the Alabama statute that covers this, the law that was written, allows you to take, let's say, Josh, you, for example, you've got some kids that are driving now. So you have a car, your wife's got a car, your son's got a car, I think your daughter's about to get a car. Let's say you were in an accident with someone else's fault, they didn't have insurance. Not only are you going to get the uninsured motorist coverage on your vehicle, but you're going to get it for your wife's, you're going to get it for your son's, all of those vehicles that are under that policy because you own multiple cars or your household residents have cars. And you're allowed to stack those. So instead of just having maybe $25,000 under your policy, you could take the 25 from yours, the 20, stack it with the 25 from your wife, stack it with 25 with your son to give you $75,000, which is going to give you more coverage in the end.
You know, and one of the things that people get concerned about sometimes, and we get this question a lot, is, hey, if I access my own coverage, I know you say I paid for it for a rainy day, but and I know somebody else caused this accident, but they're not properly insured, and I've got worse injuries. You're asking me to put my own carrier on notice, and you want me to make a claim under my own policy. Isn't that going to tear me up to a higher insurance premium down the road? And generally, not every insurance company works the same. Generally, the answer is it will not. If you're not at fault, if you're not the at-fault driver, generally, and again, there are some exceptions, generally it's not going to impact your insurance premiums and the amount that you pay. So sometimes accessing your uninsured motorist coverage can be done without impacting you long term. And I don't know if you've had any different experience with that, but
I think by and large most people are uncomfortable making a claim or hesitant to make a claim because they've probably had an insurance agent or someone in the past say, don't make claims unless you have to because your insurance is going to go up. Well, this isn't a situation where you've wrecked your car and it was your fault and they're paying to fix your car. This is someone else's fault, and that's usually when they ding you for those things.
Hey, real quick, and I know we've kind of talked about the urgency of getting lawyers involved early, but what is the statute of limitation generally for a tort claim against the person that caused the accident and then your UIM coverage?
So a personal injury claim in Alabama, you're going to have 2 years from the date of the accident. A uninsured motorist claim, like we said, was in contract. So technically you have a 6-year statute, but I think in an abundance of caution, you want to do these things quickly, and you probably don't want to run past that 2-year because you were still making a claim against someone else for their negligence.
Just about out of time, but real quick final thoughts from you both, and if you would, you go first.
David, what I would say is this. I think I hear all the time from my clients or people that call Hollis Wright that, look, I've got full coverage, and I know that I'm covered for these things, and then we'll go look at it, and it turns out that they don't have uninsured motorist coverage. And I think that's because in this world of insurance and trying to cut prices and how competitive it is, that this is an area where companies have gotten people to get rid of their uninsured motorist coverage. And I would urge you to go and make sure that you have this. Ask your agent, because it's very important. It is your exclusive coverage for this type of thing.
Yeah, Josh, real quick.
Yeah, and all I would say is uninsured motorist coverage is inexpensive. You should buy as much as you can get away with.
Okay.
And just remember, you have it unless you've specifically and definitively waived it. And the last thing I'd say is this. Get a lawyer involved no matter who it is, whether it's us or someone else. Get them involved early because they can help lead, guide, and direct you through this kind of complicated process.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Good job, dude.
And thank you, guys, as well. We'll see you next time right here on The Attorneys.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by Hollis Wright.